Okay, I have thought about how to describe my feeling about this movie, and I think there's two words that are a good way to describe the way the movie was. Mind trippy, you guys. I have no idea what the heck I watched. Honestly, I don't. And I'm not a fan of those type of movies. So, unfortunately, I did not enjoy this movie as much as I did Manal Murali. The name of this movie is called Churuli. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that right. It's, okay, so the premise of the film is, it starts off by, there's this fable that's being told about this monk or something carrying around this anteater in a basket on his head, and the anteater keeps misdirecting the monk. And so the monk just travels for years, aimlessly, not knowing where he's going. And then the movie comes into showing us these two guys. I can't remember their names, but a younger guy and an older guy. They are undercover policemen. They're coming into this area to try to apprehend a fugitive. And there were some things that I liked about it from the beginning. I thought the cinematography was actually really good. The acting, of course, was really good. The editing was good. Technically, it was fine. And, well, there were some editing things that happened and I was confused and it kind of threw me off balance, but mentally. But I'm thinking that it's very possible that was intentional, because this entire movie is just like, it's meant to confuse the hell out of you, and this did. So I actually had to go and read like the ending of Churuli Explained, or what is this movie about? And there's been different, or there have been different explanations for what it is. Each explanation makes sense. Actually, I think I got more out of reading what this was possibly about than actually during the watching of this film. So I like the cinematography, especially in the beginning. There's an early shot zooming in through the clouds. It's pretty cool. There's shots taken from underneath this vehicle as it's traveling through the forest. It's kind of cool. As I've said, the acting, the weirdness of things that were happening, because there's these odd, and I don't want to explain too much about this film because I don't want to let you know what it is, because you're supposed to go into it not really completely understanding. And so if I explain to you what I found out about it, then that kind of gives away too much. I don't want to do that. But Churuli, this little place that they're at, it's hard to explain. There's like this weird stuff that goes on. And when certain things are happening, this film mostly seems to be told through the eyes of or about the younger cop. He's the one in the middle there. He's the younger guy. It focuses mostly on him. When he's noticing strange things or whatever, the camera effects of how that's done, like things are shimmering and pulsing, and it's just kind of interesting the way it was done. It looked like it was something that could be completely natural. Like it didn't look over the top crazy with visual effects, stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. I also noticed, and I don't know if I want to say I appreciated it, because this particular thing I'm getting ready to mention, because it started to get on my nerves. It started to unsettle me. That's probably the better way to it's probably better wording. It started to unsettle me. Was things like heavy emphasis on sounds. Certain sounds, like the motor revving in the vehicle. There's a really unsettling shot of this vehicle trying to go across this very rickety bridge. It's just like logs just kind of thrown down. I think there's a picture of it here. And just the loudness of the engine, and I think part of it also was the suspense was happening. You know, like what's going to happen with this vehicle? Is they going to fall or what? It just kind of was like it was this slow buildup of tension. And then there's another scene where people are in this room and there's a bunch of eating and slurping and very loud swallowing sounds, and the cups as they land on the table, very distinctive, loud. Like it was almost like those sounds were amped up to create this very standoffish type of, or off-putting type of feeling, or unnerving sort of thing. So I think that was intentional, but I really noticed that. I mean, I almost felt like I could feel my blood pressure rising while I was watching that. And I don't know how much of that is just because certain sounds kind of, I don't know, generate this response in me. It's like, oh, I do not like that sound. Or how much of it is a combination of that plus the fact that the filmmaker did this intentionally to create a certain emotion or feeling in you. Anyway, so there's different symbolisms, of course, going on in this movie. The fable told at the beginning, and then the aerial shots at the beginning of a bus traveling through the forest, kind of like taking this winding sort of road that reminds you of that fable, like I said at the beginning, of the anteater that kept misdirecting the monk, stuff like that. Also, some other things I noticed. I almost feel like this is probably going to be more a discussion of things I noticed or things that just kind of stood out to me, as opposed to a discussion of what I really dug about this film, because I was not super crazy about it, like I said, unfortunately. Because that's part of that's a huge con for me. I had no idea what the heck this was about. And I also felt like in some ways I couldn't completely connect with the characters like I could in Manal Morali. Maybe you weren't supposed to. Maybe that was the whole point. So, I feel like I was spoiled by that first movie that I watched. So I think I went into this with but also it's mind trippy. And I'm not crazy about that type of movie. I don't mind films that make you think and sort of speculate, but when it's so out there, you just can't really wrap your brain around it and you have no idea what the heck was going on. It's not something that makes me feel satisfied, in other words. So, some things of note, or I have a question. There was a scene, like I said, where they're sitting in this area and they're drinking, or there's several scenes of them eating and drinking different stuff. They were drinking the same type of drink, it looked to me like, that it showed characters in Manal Morali drinking. It's like this chocolatey, light chocolatey looking, sort of milk chocolatey looking color. And I have no idea what that is. And I'm really curious to know. I had an observation about the garb that several of the characters wore in Manal Morali. They also wear it here, and people explained to me what it was, and so that was cool. I learned stuff as far as that goes, but I would really like to know what that drink is. I don't know how else to describe it other than the color, but they were drinking it in the other movie. They were drinking it in this movie, and I'm really curious. Okay, so there's that. I mentioned the unnerving scenes, the fable told at the beginning. Also, there were some moments in here that were... It's hard to really attach a specific genre to this movie, like science fiction-y or mystery or suspense or thriller, or there wasn't a huge amount of thrillery moments, but also there was comedy in here. The interactions they had with each other was sometimes pretty funny. I laughed. I literally did laugh when this one particular scene happened. It was this group of people, and they were having this casual talk about that they were going to kill these people, and they were just like talking about this in front of the people that they were planning to kill. And someone made this comment. I don't remember if it was a woman or one of the guys in the group. Something like, "Well, finish up. We need to make the curry." It's like, what? It was funny. It was just, I guess I wasn't expecting that. So there was a lot of funny dialogue thrown in. Honestly, it's very possible that maybe the subtitles weren't capturing the real essence of what was being said, but I only know what I read, and it was pretty funny. So that stood out to me. Also, there were a few times that the tables would turn very quickly. In other words, things would start off a certain way and people would be acting a certain way, and then very quickly and suddenly they would just almost change and become different. I noticed that happened at least once or twice in there. And of course, this movie was on the shorter-ish side for a movie from India. A lot of the films that I've been looking at or thinking about watching from India have been upwards of 2.5 to, 2.5 plus hours long. This one was right at maybe 2 hours, so kind of short-ish. That's one of the reasons that I chose this one ahead of some of the others, because I knew that I could get it under my belt more quickly. It only took me 2 nights to watch this, actually. I watched the bulk of it last night and was just thinking, what the heck? What is going on? What am I watching? But I kept watching because I wanted to see what sort of resolution would be happening and where were we going to be going with these characters. And so I wasn't really bored at all. But I think part of it was because I just kept waiting, and also because the acting in here was good enough that it just kind of kept you drawn in. But unfortunately, by the end of it, I was just fundamentally disappointed with this film. So I obviously cannot say that I really enjoyed this film a lot, but that has nothing to do with the quality of the film itself, as far as the stuff I've been mentioning, like the acting, cinematography, editing, pacing, stuff like that. It's more because I don't like films like this very much. I was drawn to it because it was these undercover cops and they were going to go look. So I thought it was going to be sort of like your typical kind of suspenseful cat and mouse sort of hunting type, like hunting this guy type of thing. Now I knew that there was going to be some weirdness thrown in because it was talking about this area was strange, and I had seen the trailer for it. I did do a reaction to the trailer, but I haven't put it up yet. Haven't put it up. I don't know if I should put it up before or after. It doesn't matter, does it? Oh, well, whatever. So I knew there was going to be some strangeness, but I didn't know it was going to be as wonky. Well, actually, let me take that back. Someone made a comment in my comment section, I think of Manal Morali, and they mentioned about, asking if I would watch this. I'd already planned that I was to watch this because I got a bunch of recommendations, and I've been making a list and adding things to my to watch list and stuff like that. And they said something, I'm paraphrasing, but they said something about if I could explain what happened or if I could watch it, because they just watched it and they had no idea what they were watching. So that was kind of a clue. That was sort of a heads up that I should have paid more attention to, because I feel exactly the way that the person who left that comment felt. And so because of that, I can't rate this one on up there. Now, granted, my exposure to Indian movies is very, very limited. I've only got 2 under my belt so far, but I have a feeling this one's not going to. I think this one's going to kind of always stay at the bottom of the list of films that I watch as far as enjoyment, because I could see myself rewatching Manal Morali, but not this, because it just didn't, like I said, just didn't leave me satisfied. Unfortunately, it's got very decent reviews, and I can see why, as far as, like critical reviews. I can see why, but for me, it just didn't work. Unfortunately, I wanted it to, but it didn't. So I know there's people that like this type of thing. I'm just not one of them. But oh well. I don't regret having watched it, though. This is not like a Green Knight type of thing where I absolutely was so aggravated that I had taken the time to watch. This was not the case. I don't regret having watched it. I'm not satisfied with it fundamentally, but oh well, that's just me. And I can't think of anything else to add to it. I looked through my notes and I think I've talked about everything that came to me. But anyway, if you don't mind trippy films and you don't mind not knowing what the hell's going on, this film may be the movie for you. And after you watch it, it's probably extremely helpful to go read explanations. Here's the problem. People don't really know for sure. because I'm not sure if the filmmaker himself has explained exactly what's going on. So there's been a bunch of different thoughts thrown out there, and every single one of them makes sense to me. It could be anything. It could be either of those things, or it could be none. Who knows? But oh well. Okay, well, I guess that's it for this one. Feels like kind of a lackluster review, unfortunately. But that's all I have to say about that. Later, guys.